Hey guys, back with another Echoing Thoughts podcast here, episode number 20. And in this podcast, I sort of wanted to talk about how I still kind of keep engaged with the game, how I still find some things that I find fun, that keeps me sort of from burning out, that keeps me from wanting to quit. I think this is a time in the game where there's a certain demographic or amount of people that feel bored. The game feels stale, right? Damien isn't achievable for people yet, but Lotus is once a week and it's sort of become mindless. Arc is definitely mindless at this point for a lot of people. People aren't even buffing. People are just using fair trade and kind of not even caring about how much DPS they do in that. Mulong is sort of whatever it is, Culvert's stale. And, people are kind of in this stage where content feels dailies feel like more of a chore than something, logging in feels like a chore instead of something that they want to do every day. And I want to talk about things that I've enjoyed about the game that it's different than bossing because I don't even do my own arc anymore. I don't even do arc anymore. I barely even do CRA. I just do dailies and auto battle and things like that. And um, Lotus once a week. But I still find the game very enjoyable. I feel like I find myself logging in a lot. Just always finding new things to do to kind of pique my interest. And so I'm going to talk about some of the things that I've been doing recently to keep me around, to not burn out, not quitting anytime soon. And then I want to talk about a little bit of predictions for the next two updates leading up to anniversary. I think a lot of people are expecting it to be a little bit of a dry spell the next few months leading up to V3 anniversary, which is understandable, which is because that's always the biggest update. But I think there are some cool things that they can do that I'm hoping that they implement in this May update and in the June update, sort of leading up to V3 to keep people, keep the game interesting and to possibly change the meta leading up to V3. So we'll start off by things that I've really enjoyed doing on a day-to-day basis, sort of that makes me want to log in. And there's a few things. First thing is kind of the new home introduction. I'll be honest, I was one of those people that really didn't think I was going to get into it. I didn't find I was not really huge into that type of thing, but I sort of had FOMO when guildies started doing it and started kind of showing their houses and the things that they're getting. And it sort of FOMO. It caught on and I wanted to do it too. And it's cool to kind of creep. To look at other people's houses and just see which routes people take. I know I ended up choosing getting a stairs early on, so I saved up for that. Some people saved up for the big dome that was 7,000 coins. Others went just straight for the small, large mushrooms, and now their houses are just filled to the brim with all kinds of stuff. And now it's kind of like just hoarding stuff in their house. And then people are, it's cool to see people take different routes, old world, the antique stuff, seaside, just see how people decorate the houses, the new pieces that kind of large furniture, small furnitures that are different at the stage of the game because there's so many different routes people can take. Um, and people are just so creative and I love this kind of stuff. And I'm always interested in something in these things that, I'm not creative. I'm not like big into like that fashion type of stuff. So it's cool to see other people that are really, designing their houses kind of a certain way, certain aesthetic, and it looks really, really cool. And I think that's sort of like people were saying it's sort of like a Farmville thing where you kind of just log in the morning, wait your 6 to 9 hours, and it's kind of hope for the piece that you want. Um, and right now it feels like after you start to build a base of your furniture score or whatever it's called up to like 200 plus, you start to accumulate more coins and it starts to just feels like you can get those large pieces, get furniture more frequently, and it's pretty cool. I'm excited to kind of see um, what people when people start getting their new unlocking catalogs and things like that. It just feels like one of those things that just another layer of that's kind of mindless, kind of not much, but it just brings a little bit of excitement to the game whenever you can kind of you see that your furniture is ready and you can just kind of see what piece you have to kind of fit it um into your aesthetic, into your home. Kind of a weird little thing. I think it's a obviously fashion store is a big part of the game, and this is sort of kind of right up the alley for a lot of people, and I've sort of been jumping on that train as well. Um, and then one of the things that kind of the main thing that I've been doing recently is I've been trying to find ways. This is probably the most important thing that's kind of kept me engaged recently. Is just finding ways to go more free to play. Um, I've tried to cut back on spending. Um, I feel like my gear is in a good place. It kind of helps that paladins are really good. They don't need, um, you know, maximum cap in order to, you know, do a lot of damage. Um, and so I've sort of taken the back seat um, on spending and trying to find more ways to invest um, and profit um, to make, you know, to make money, to whether it's mesos or things like that. And so I'm sort of, for me personally, I go through these waves of whaling. Kind of beginning of the year when Moon Fragment comes out. Um, I went really hard because it was sort of like the fragments kind of created like a cash back type of thing where I could sell pony boxes. I could make Radiant Exalt fodders, things like that to sort of offset the spending, but it's still spending, right? And then so like now, now I've kind of picked my spots on. Now I kind of am trying to take a break, right? Kind of play the long game. And that's sort of what I've been trying to do with this free to play kind of mentality, right? Kind of play the long game. Understanding that I'm trying to make it this year. My goal was to make it to V3, right? Make it to the end of the year, make it to next year, make it to V4. I think a lot of the times, like in the past, I would just go really, really hard and I've quit multiple times. And kind of just becomes this endless cycle, and the only winner really is Nexon. And I kind of um that's kind of what I like about my guild is we don't have a lot of like enablers. We don't have like a lot of um huge mega whales that are constantly just trying to like egg people on or trying to get the best possible gear. It's always fun to see those people do it, but it's nice to be kind of on the outside. I'm not feeling that like peer pressure of having to match it and spend and deal with the whole RNG and things like that. Um, it's just funny to see like people want someone else hits an Absolab or a Necro or something that you get excited and you want to do it too, and of course you never get it um, because that's just the way it works. And then it just ends up being like a bottomless pit of spending. But for me, I have two Lotus characters right now that kind of fund me. And then I've been using that money to the mesos to either sell Absolab crystals or make chaos fodders or attempt them. And then try to just find ways to, profit, right? Try to find ways to um, maximize the market, kind of supply and demand. Um, and it's kind of fun to make chaos fodders, right? Exalting up to level 40, getting into inherent, making CDD ults to get more attempts, just finding, um, ways to maximize red mesos is kind of a little nerdy thing that I've kind of been trying to emphasize and trying to be a little bit more patient so like I don't have to spend actual mesos because those are much more valuable, obviously, than red mesos. And it's fun, right? It's not really part of the game that I've really been into recently because when it comes to free to play, a lot of the times it's if you don't spend, you have to invest. Like the more you spend, um, you know, if you want to play free to play to maximize it, you have to spend a lot more time, right? It's time versus money, right? And with my route, it allows me to, Lotus doesn't take a lot of time, two characters, and then I can kind of sort of use that mesos to, you know, in order to make money, you got to spend money, right? You got to that's just how it kind of goes. Kind of got to take risk in that sense, and that's sort of what I've been enjoying about the game. Just profiting. on just the market. And it's nice to have kind of that supply of mesos, free to play mesos coming in through Lotus and things like that. And I just hope that, like, for me, it's just like a whole, there's just so many more options. I'm thinking about like how I'm going to invest in my characters to do this with Damien, right? Can I make another character like a Phantom or another Paladin to do more Lotus runs, right? To sort of invest up front into building up a character to, in the long run, make it all back and then some. It's kind of like making node farmers back in the day. For me, that's kind of what I did. And then node farming wasn't as lucrative as it was in the past. So then I sort of went off of that and found other ways to, you know, make money, make mesos, things like that. And so it's kind of a fun little part of the game that I think I'm not the first one to do this, right? I think people have been doing the free to play route much better than I have with alt story, with CDD alts, and kind of leveling up the right characters to do a lot of arc, to do a lot of now Lotus, and then prepping for Damien. I think it's just interesting how long people have been doing this and have really been effectively being free to play or effectively, you know, minimizing their real life money spending, um, just by, kind of investing up front or spending a little bit more time on making alts and maximizing red mesos and kind of taking advantage of little things here and there to just save and be efficient with spending. And so that's something I'm kind of interested in right now. I still don't find myself playing as much as I thought I was, which is nice because I'm not trying to spend a lot of time playing the game and doing dailies, but it still feels like it's Lotus is kind of a game changer for me, where it allows me to kind of just have that consistent income, not having to buy mesos, not having to uh, spend a lot of time crafting unique max level uniques or legendaries or fusing mythics and things like that to sell and trade server. It feels nice to just be able to just do Lotus once a week and kind of every 3 weeks or every 2 weeks expect to have an attempt of a chaos fodder or have a absolute crystal that's kind of free money, and kind of use that money to make more money efficiently. So I know it's kind of a rant, but I think that like that's kind of the things that I think about right now, that I'm having a great time sort of, and it's just a part of the game that I'm enjoying right now. And I think that it's definitely possible to go a little bit more free to play than we used to. But obviously, as the game evolves, as more people start to clear Lotus, then you have to find more ways to. The market's obviously going to change. Absolute crystals are going to go down in prices. More people are going to be making chaos fodders and things like that. So I'm just trying to take advantage of it right now with the market, kind of supply and demand, and not rush to buy Absolute Lab crystals or Radiant Exalt fodders at the price that they are. Because I know eventually it's kind of like Necros back in the day or Nodes back in the day. The market always kind of peak spikes at the beginning and then sort of gets cheaper and cheaper. Same with like primals, primal essences, things like that. So some of the things that like I've been enjoying trying to play that long game, like I mentioned, to just just not burn out, not recklessly spend, and sort of be forced into situations where I may not be able to play anymore. And kind of the last thing that, with this mega burning event coming up, I've been big on alt story. I have other characters that I make besides from my paladin. So right now I'm really into Sia. I just made one and really just enjoying the gameplay. I'm just watching it AB and just kill mobs. The ability to survive in SF 144. Excited with the mega burning event. That's gonna be the character that I push to 200. I don't know if I'm gonna get there because I don't want to invest too much into auto battle and things like that. But I'm just excited to see how far, as you start to level it more, how much stronger it is and how cool the class is with the hypers and things like that. And if I ever get to fit job with the V skills as well, definitely a pretty sweet class, a unique class with the presets and the combos and things like that. It's pretty awesome. And I'm curious with the mega burning event coming out up to 200. I'm curious what classes you guys are playing. If you're going to do your arc, if you're going to do like a second main, or just like a another alt for farming nodes or whatever it is. I'm curious what you guys are doing out there. But Sia is the character that I'm making right now, and excited to kind of see if I can get it to 200 without investing too much. And then like I mentioned, this feels like, the time when people talk about quitting, talk about possibly re-rolling, or just like the game feels stale, right? The game feels boring. People start to burn out. They spent on absolute crystals. They've spent, and things like that. They've rating exalted level 50, and they just don't enjoy playing the game anymore for whatever reason. And they don't know if they can wait till V3 to kind of get excited again. And I think that thinking about what is coming up in the next few months, what possibly could be coming up to kind of pique the interest still and get people interested, I think there's a few things that they can introduce that I believe should be coming up soon anyways. I think the first one is may not interest everyone, but I think it's the Legion system needs to get a revamp. Right, I think they're due for that. I know in PC Maple they have a huge new Legion system. The grids are different. Ignore enemy defenses in there, and just it feels like the grid has been pretty stale. It's the same for quite a while, and I think that just with the amount of characters that people are making, the ability to how easily people can level now, I think it's just time for those people that play the game for alt story, for Legion, for things like that. It's time for them to sort of get rewarded for investing all of this investing into just high level alts, compared to some people like me that kind of just get to level 120, maybe 150, 140, 150 with SF 150, just for the link skills and things like that. I think that having that discrepancy, some people have like how many SF, level 200 alts. I think they definitely deserve to be rewarded. And I think that that's something that should come hopefully soon in the May or June update, that I think that a lot of people will appreciate, and will benefit from, and it'll get people wanting to play alts, right? And starting to level alts so that they can reap those benefits as well. And then another one, I think that these next two are sort of things that I think definitely can happen in May and in June. I think the first one is, and these two are sort of, I wouldn't say meta changers. I think one is, and the other one is just something that would bring a lot of excitement to the player base. And I think the first one is the new DPS tracker, the new DPS tracker system, where in Korean Maple Story Mobile, they have it where they not just have the DPS charts and how much damage you're doing, but it has a breakdown of each skill and how much damage it does, what percent of your entire damage it does. And I think it just gives us a better, more in-depth breakdown of what type of damage you're doing, right? Where your damage is coming from. I think a lot of people think they have an idea. Most people do already if they've been playing their class and kind of theory crafting as well. But I think it's just putting into numbers and seeing exactly what people, how much damage certain skills are doing and where they can invest, maybe change their stats or change their priority. I think it'd be a huge boost to the community just to see that and see what, get people excited to do all these sort of testing with their classes and sort of, something completely new, right? You can see it and the difference in damage. I'm curious if things change, like in certain bosses, like in Lotus, like for example, maybe your passive skills, like say like Paladin's righteous hammers, right? They're the ones that are spinning around your character. Maybe those do more damage than you think, in comparison to in Arc, where Arc you're just standing there, you can just spam blast all the time, right? And I'll be interested to see, like in Lotus, maybe you're taking portals or maybe you're moving around a lot more. You don't get as many blast attacks in. If that number, if your damage scales based off of, differently based off of, per boss, right? Maybe your hammers do 40% of your damage versus in arc, they do 33%, and blast, your main attacking skill, does X amount more percent because you're getting more attacks in. Kind of just sort of things that I'm thinking of off the top of my head, how not only your damage translate maybe in guild dungeon or in guild dummy, but also in like from boss to boss, right? From like hard Magnus to arc to Lotus to Damien. And it really will emphasize, you know, I think it would just give players that are playing the same characters sort of a better understanding of how maybe some people, just play style, like skill wise, how people are doing more damage when they have less gear, right? Or things like that. I think it'll give people an idea, like maybe this person is just getting straight up more attacks in, right? Maybe they're maximizing their, maybe you'll see the value more in leveling up your V skills. Maybe um, when you use your V skills, like dual blade, if they when they use their V1 skill, their biggest skills, their hypers, are they using it? Are they maximizing it? Are they getting knocked out of it? Are they um, pairing it with split? Are they pairing it with their defense, their special node, defense match 4? Those little things can show up on this DPS tracker that, can be the difference, can help people improve their gameplay, can help improve people, see the difference between what they're doing and versus what, the top tier players skill wise are doing. And it's just going to be exciting. It's kind of just going to open up new avenues and get people, talking about the game, getting people talking about their classes and finding ways to improve. And just seeing how is it really, seeing how good some of these players really are at maximizing their class, maximizing their damage. It may give hope to people that, maybe aren't doing as much damage as they think, that they can do more if they just, maximize, if they just look at the charts and find ways to do more damage here and there. I think it's just an awesome tool to have that the whole community will benefit from in the long run. And I hope that it comes before V3, and I hope that it comes May. In May. That'd be pretty sweet. Sort of a new thing to kind of hold us over, do a little bit of testing for 2 months before V3 comes in, and we have to do all of our testing again. And seeing how V3 comes into play with our rotations. I think it would just be awesome to have that in May. But we'll see if that happens. Yeah. And then the last one is, I really think if the DPS tracker doesn't come out in May, I really hope that this next one comes out in May, because it feels like the perfect time for it. And that is introducing ignore enemy defense into V skills. In Korean Maple Story Mobile, they had this, I think they had it before V3 came out, if I'm not mistaken. It came out maybe either before or right after, at the same time, but I know that they have this now with their V3, their V skills, where basically V skills have built-in ignore enemy defense into them, sort of how, trios boost nodes have ignore enemy defense after level 40 for, your main skills, things like that. V skills don't have that, right? And I think introducing that into the V skills now, like Korean Maple Story has, it's going to change the meta, right? It's going to totally change the meta, and I feel like it's going to be treated sort of like a rebalance in a sense, right? We just had a rebalance in, was that March? 2 months later already, it'll be another sort of pseudo rebalance if they introduce this change, and then 2 months later it'll be V3 where the meta will change again. I think that's just perfect timing, where if they introduce this to in the May update, it'll be the perfect amount of time in between each sort of rebalance. And then if they pair this with the DPS tracker, I think that'd be an amazing sort of holdover until V3, right? You don't want, like, if they want to kind of keep this train rolling and they want to sort of keep people interested and invested in the game, I think that would be a great update for this May update. Just because, and if you don't know how it works, my understanding is that based on if your V1 and V2 skills, what they are, the percent of ignore enemy defense changes. So for example, if you have a duration based skill, like say, I don't quote me on this, but I think that even like like a duration based skill has less percent than like a skill that is a one-time skill that is sort of a burst. So for example, I don't know too many skills. So like let's look at like righteous hammers. Right. I don't think so for paladins, for example, I don't think divine echo is going to have ignore enemy defense built in because I think it's already built in into the boost nodes. Like since it's a clone skill, it's already going to be built into that. So like things like Jaguar Storm or Kaiser's, hmm, maybe Kaiser's clones might have ignore enemy defense, but I think like those skills, if they don't have it, like I don't think Echo has built-in ignore enemy defense in it. Um, if it would, it's going to be very, very small because that'd be broken. But I'm thinking more of like righteous hammers, like I mentioned for paladins, the V2 spinning hammers. Um, since that's duration based, it's 45 seconds when it's maxed. I think has less, it has like a 5% ignore enemy defense or something really small because it's just a passive attack that is going on for 45 seconds. Kind of similar to like a Demon Slayer, like they have their Mastema snake, um, their snake, and then they have their cat skill as well that are both duration based skills. One is 12 seconds at max, and the other one is 45 seconds, I think. So they will have their duration based skills, but they will have different ignore enemy defense attached to them because of their duration, right? And then versus, let's say, like a Phantom's V2 skill, um, where it's 15-second cooldown, whatever it is. It's a kind of one-time burst or a dual blades V2 skill, right? They're burst. They're like a skill that has an internal cooldown of 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever it is. They have a little bit of a higher ignore enemy defense because they're not up for certain periods of time, right? And I think kind of everything in between. Like think of like Night Lord's Shuriken is sort of duration based, but has a short cooldown. So I think there's just percentages of ignore enemy defense. Um, it varies depending on the specific skill, and so it's pretty awesome. I hope that this gets introduced in this May update or June at the latest, but it feels like, but I'm pretty sure that in Korean Maple Story, they got this before V3. And I think so it's only a matter of time before they start introducing this into our game. Um, and I think that's what's going to allow people maybe clear Lotus easier, right? It's another stepping stone for people to clear Lotus. If they haven't cleared it, kind of just gives them more ability to do more damage, um, just passively without actually progressing their gear. And maybe even people are going to start to do Damien or at least attempt it to get through phase 1, phase 2, so that when V3 comes around in 2 months, then they're definitely going to be able to clear with that extra damage and all the kind of ignore enemy defense built in. Because right now it feels like Damien, people are looking at HP pools. People are looking at, it's not extremely high HP pool in comparison to Lotus. But the difference is one, Damien has much more iframes, has many more iframes where they're immune to damage. There's a lot more moving back and forth. There's a lot of moving parts that I feel like one makes it more difficult to have uptime on the boss, so you're going to naturally do less damage. But also the ignore enemy defense is a little bit higher, I think, than Lotus. So it feels like you're just not capping. You're just naturally not doing as much damage as you would be in Lotus or an Arc. So of course your damage is going to be a little bit lower overall. So I think introducing these um, this change to the V skills and ignore enemy defense, possibly even Legion with ignore enemy defense, is just going to allow people to start clearing more in-game bosses, or at least prepping and practicing, so that when V3 comes out, more teams are going to clear, and then maybe a rebalance in a few months after that will allow more people to clear, and so it just opens up, excitement again, possibilities of new content for these players that are possibly thinking about that are possibly burning out or possibly going to stop spending or not um, and end up quitting. I think it's just going to be a great sort of bridge to allow people to get excited for kind of the end game content, to want to spend and progress their gear to do more damage and more content, things like that. So that is sort of my thought process on what I hope and predict is going to happen. Um, if nothing happens before V3, I think it's still a win, right? Because of how much they've done update wise, pretty much January, February, March, April since last year, even with Explore Remaster. But I really hope that they introduce at least these, a few of these that I mentioned, whether it's Legion update, DPS, new DPS tracker, or the ignore enemy defense for B skills. I think any of those changes, a few of those changes will just be um, make it a great update again and really really be excited to hold us over until anniversary in V3 and Adele and whatever else they introduced at the time. So again, um, if you're a free to play player or you have things that you do that help you kind of not spend as much, be free to play, more free to play friendly, definitely comment below. I'm interested to see what people do. I heard there's a lot of different things that they can do now with gold leafs, with rank up stones, with alts, what kind of alts you're making, what Star Force, what's a good level to stop at. Are they trying to get to level 200? What's the best way to get Star Force? Use your best way to use red mezzos. I'd love to hear just if you're different things that people do to spend less, right? I'm trying to play that. I'm sort of enjoying that free to play life. I'm definitely not free to play. Like I still buy auto battle and stuff like that, but trying to make better decisions financially to play longer. I think that's kind of the ultimate goal, to enjoy the game for what it is, not for how much I'm spending and how much damage I'm doing and things like that. So I definitely think there's more avenues for me to explore with the game that I'm excited to check out. So definitely comment below any tips you guys have for being free to play. Um, Anything I didn't mention, maybe if I'm doing something wrong, definitely let me know about that as well. But I hope this helped you guys. This was something interesting. I really hope that my predictions are right. I'm not completely off, and I hope that like this May update is something exciting. And I'll talk about it next podcast when I find out when they drop more information on it, hopefully. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I enjoy doing these podcasts. Feel like there's always content to talk about. Definitely subscribe, comment again, free to play tips, or maybe what your predictions are for these next these next updates before anniversary. And then don't forget to like, and thank you again. I'll see you guys next time.